Welcome to the Gavel, coming to you from Channels Television Studios in Abuja. I'm Terry Ikumi. Well, legislative activities are beginning to pick up gradually, especially as resumption day approaches. And speaking of resumption, pressure continues to mount over the Senate's handling of Senator Natasha Akpatu-Uduaghan's suspension. Opposition parties, including the People's Democratic Party, to which the senator belongs, human rights lawyers and civil society organizations are raising alarm over what they describe as an assault on democracy. Senator Akpatu-Uduaghan has also vowed to resume her legislative duties on September the 23rd, when the National Assembly resumes from its annual recess, despite a letter from the clerk reaffirming that the suspension remained in force pending an appeal in court, which she filed. Well, the 6-month suspension, which began on the 6th of March, expired on the 6th of September, naturally. But a letter from the clerk says the matter is now sub judice and she cannot resume until the case in court is concluded and the Senate reviews the suspension in the light of the court's pronouncements. Anyways, let's now turn to other matters. The House Committee on Land Transport issued a 48-hour ultimatum to the Minister of Transportation, Mr. Saidu Alkali, to appear before it over the recent derailment of the Abuja-Kaduna bound train carrying 618 passengers. The ultimatum follows the failure of the minister to honor the committee's invitation. The committee, which is investigating the train incident, which occurred 2 weeks ago, describes the minister's action as unacceptable.
We, House of Reps members, we came here to consider the issues, the emergency issues relating to our railway in Nigeria. I want it to be reported, and I want us to be quoted, that the minister is holding this process to ransom, and he does not care about what happens to the lives of Nigerians, what effect it will have, the neglect of the lives of Nigerian people. Very soon, and later on when this meeting reconvenes, we will begin to assess the companies and every party here. But I am of the opinion in supporting my brother that this meeting cannot really proceed. And it is not because we are not here. We are ready to go on with this process. We want to investigate the issues that have been happening, the incessant issues, threatening the lives of Nigerians concerning our railways.
From what I read from one of the Chinese magazines, was that the railway constructed by CCEC almost killed Nigerians. That was the caption of the headline, implying that perhaps it is possible that your tracks were constructed with very inferior materials. Perhaps, I said. I listened to my colleague, referencing the fact that the Honorable Minister was once a parliamentarian, and he understands the function of this parliament. To stay away when Nigeria is getting loose was, to say the least, that the minister did not do any good service to Nigerians.
The Honorable Minister has continued to treat this parliament with the highest level of disdain. He has never behaved like a man who went through this parliament. And Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, it is no longer time for us to continue to mesmerize the Honorable Minister and his agencies. We want to be very serious about what we are doing and to demonstrate that this is a serious parliament. I want to move that we suspend this meeting pending when the minister and his agencies are available to appear before us.
We demand the presence of the Honorable Minister within 48 hours to appear before this Honorable House on Thursday by 2. Should we make it 12 or earlier? 12 p.m. Thursday. And if you are coming, Edie, if you are coming, make sure you get a letter, come with a letter from your MD. If not, we will not admit you.
Well, it's been 48 hours already and no mention of a next line of action from the committee. So we'll just wait and see. Moving on, the House of Representatives Committee on Appropriations engaged the Minister of Finance, Mr. Wale Edun, and the Minister of Budget and National Planning, Senator Atiku Bagudu, over the pace of implementation of the 2024 and 2025 budgets. Recall that the National Assembly had extended the implementation of the capital component of the 2024 budget to December 2025, running concurrently with the 2025 budgets. The meeting was held behind closed doors. At the end of the session, the chairman of the committee, Representative Abuja-Kaduna, stated that the concerns around the level of budget execution was the reason for the meeting.
And Minister of Budget and Minister of Finance also confirmed to us that Nigerians can see a lot of changes and developments for this budget. And Nigerians are really concerned about the budget implementations, which is co-mandate to the National Assembly. We have engaged with Minister of Finance and Minister of Budget. Both of them acknowledged that, and they agreed to work so hard so that at least Nigerians can see the progress of the budget today. 2024-2025, it will be done as soon as possible. Before we reach out to 2026, you will see a serious changes between now to the end of the year.
Now, the Minister of Finance and that of Budget and National Planning also spoke with journalists.
As is customary, we reviewed the budget performance, looked at 2024. Basically, overall, it's around 80%. And as you know, the budget for 2024 was extended by the National Assembly till December, so it is still running. So it is still a work in progress, it's still ongoing. And likewise, we looked at what is happening in 2025, and we put heads together to ensure that particularly the projects that touch the grassroots, that provide support and provide resources and facilities, the roads, irrigation, other infrastructure projects at the grassroots level are focused on and are given adequate attention and priority. And it's an ongoing discussion, it's an ongoing implementation of the budget faithfully and fully.
All the achievements under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and they commended the respect for the National Assembly and the excellent working relationship between the federal government, and they stated that they have supported all the major reform initiatives which have produced the result, including tax reforms. It's an ongoing discussion. The committee and the executive have interfaced, and we appreciate what we need to do.
Interestingly, under this administration, budget extensions have been recorded just about every year. The 2022 budget was extended, while the 2023 budget was already halfway in implementation. Now, the two budgets ran along with a supplementary budget in 2023. The 2023 budget was also extended into the end of 2024, while the 2024 budget was running. Now, we have both the 2024 and 2025 budgets running at the same time after the capital component of the 2024 budget was extended to the end of 2025. And following that meeting with the Ministers of Finance and Budget, a source says the federal government is due to funding issues, wants to discontinue the 2024 budget. What now happens to projects provided for in that budget, especially those already executed? We've already seen protests by indigenous contractors. Anyways, let's wait to see the reactions that will trail that decision when it is finally made public. But moving on. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Right Honorable Abbas Tajuddin, has described the solid mineral sector as an integral part of developing a nation, a robust economy, taking attention away from oil revenue. He stated this through a member of the House, Mark Oseni, who represented him at a public hearing on 12 bills aimed to develop the solid mineral sector. And according to the Speaker, the bills represent a strategic pivot in the nation's economic agenda, considering that the Nigerian economy has been heavily reliant on a single commodity, oil.
The bills to establish multiple federal institutes of mining and geosciences across various states, Garagu in Nasarawa State, Takum in Taraba State, Ikoro in Ekiti State, Akampa in Cross River State, Gusau in Zamfara State, and Umuai here in Abia State are a testament to our commitment to building the intellectual and technical capacity required to harness our mineral wealth responsibly.
If 10% of all what had been generated from oil in River State was being put as a community development association to develop River State, where do you think River State would have been today? So please, we must have a human face to all we're doing. It's not about when you have a situation in a community where only one person is rich and the rest are poor, that rich person is equally poor.
Community Development Commission, to me, it's not going to really help the mining sector itself, because it's like putting more obstacles in the path of investment in this sector. The community and the miners' relationship is clearly spelled out in the Minerals and Mining Act that we are operating now. So all this 10%, all this equity, all these things, it's not just going to fly. It is in clash unless the Minerals and Mining Act itself is amended. What it specifies that the relationship between the mining investor and the community is the Community Development Agreement, which is to be renewed every 5 years.
That you see a lot of activities and influence between the operators in the sector, between the government and the academia. You see centers of excellence being established in some of the universities in many of these mining countries. So instead of having clear-cut institutes in all parts of the geopolitical zone, we have some schools of excellence. Take, for instance, in Jos, where you have the University of Jos. And University of Jos has a department of mining and geology. And you make this research and development and skills acquisition a major input, not just from government, but from even operators in the industry.
And welcome back to the Gavel. I have a rather unlikely guest today, so we can discuss briefly the coverage of Parliament as journalists. My colleague Larry Lasisi was Channels Television's National Assembly correspondent from 2003 to 2019 when I took over. Larry, welcome to the Gavel.
Thanks for inviting me.
You know, the idea of this conversation is to take a look over time into parliamentary practices. There's a lot going on right now, you know, from conversations around why National Assemblies on a long holiday. You know, you've covered Parliament, so you'd understand some of the, you know, rules, regulations, and what has always been. But I'd like us to have a quick discussion on what Parliament has been over the years. From your coverage of the Parliament from 2003 to 2019, let's hear what your thoughts are compared to what I've covered from 2019 till date.
Okay, well, I think it's been an interesting one, you know, watching how it's grown. When I got to the National Assembly, it wasn't too long after the return to democracy in 1999. And so we went through that spell when it appeared lawmakers were getting to understand their role. They were trying to understand their place in the governance structure of Nigeria. And we went through all the teething problems of furniture allowance, we went through the problems of what we call in the National Assembly then the banana peels, a quick fire change of leadership, where we had like 3 leadership change in the Senate. We had the problem with rowdy sessions. That time it was very common. I don't know if you see rowdy sessions these days. We had very interesting ones where before anything happens, you start guarding the maze. We had the point with former Senate President Okadigbo, who was the acting he was acting at a point then and went away with the maize so that whatever scheme was being done won't happen. So there's been a lot of trying to grapple with their roles, and they took that role, they started getting into it, that by the time we got to like the 2000 and we had left the early 2000s and got to 2010 and like people, they had started understanding better what their role were, even though we still have a problem with understanding that role from the Nigerian perspective, and they became like the whipping boy. Everybody felt they were just enjoying. I think that followed from the furniture and allowance and all that. So it's been interesting. They've matured and at the same time grappled with understanding what the issue of the representation, holding the executive to account, and then representation. They've been trying to do that, but I think I think I'll leave it to you now to say how it's been.
Very, very good. That's a very good
how
point
it is now.
Because I think in recent times, there have been quite a lot of reactions. You know that the truth is that the level of awareness of Nigerians,
yes,
of legislative activities and expectations of Nigerians has risen. So what this means is that the average Nigerian now knows to an extent who is representing them, what to expect from them. And some of the bills, social media has given an opportunity for lawmakers to put out information out there, for Nigerians to even get access to information without the lawmakers putting it out there. And quite a number of reactions have begun to that. And that's why you hear now that we have more chance of the National Assembly should go, we don't need them and all that. It is a very integral part of democracy. But then, I want to find out from you, because what we see now is a case of freshers. I dare say that at least 80% of the federal lawmakers now were not there, especially in the House of Representatives, were not there between 2003 and 2019 when you were there.
Very few.
So we've heard civil society organizations complain about these lawmakers not really knowing what their responsibilities are. But I also want to ask you about legislative processes, because from the last assembly, we began to see secrecy. Secrecy in the sense that committee meetings, especially budget defense sessions, would be holding and it wouldn't be open. Most of the committees would choose not to invite journalists, and they would practically bar us from covering that. So it raised a lot of questions. But over time, what would you say could have been responsible for something like this?
Okay, so let me go back to the issue you touched on, which has to do with how the perception. My own belief is that to a large extent, when you look at the parliament, I think it's one of the most misunderstood places because, you know, they'll tell you if you want to learn about something, you start from the point of knowledge. What do you know? And then based on that, you build on that knowledge. So the very few Nigerians have anything to compare the National Assembly to. It's not like court. It's not like the executive. It's unique. And unfortunately, the National Assembly appears to be the one that is giving us in Nigeria that example. We certainly are not getting it at the state level or even at the local government level. So on that level, I feel to a large extent, Nigerians do not understand. So even for us as journalists, when we say you are trying to rate a lawmaker.
On what basis?
On what basis, one. And then we say, how many bills did he pass? I always wonder, so you now have a situation where in Nigeria or in the National Assembly, lawmakers are passing bills.
Whether relevant
or not. To meet that, what appears to be a marking scheme from the public.
Absolutely.
That are you there are lawmakers that I know, they sit in the committee. Their contributions are, as you know,
national issues.
Apart from national issues, when you get to the clause by clause, they may not own the bill, but in terms of experience in legislative framework, they appreciate and understand what can be legislated on, what should be, how it should be phrased. But Nigerians don't know that. So if he doesn't bring a bill but contributes on the floor, he's playing his role in national development. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. I think a lot of Nigerians, if they better understand that it's not just the passing, because what we now have is there's a competition. Every year you say we have passed 1,000 bills. When you ask yourself, how many of those bills actually affect or impact
directly
daily
on the people?
Absolutely. You can, and nobody goes back to go and check that, okay, the bills passed. Which ones were fundamental out of the 1,000 bills?
You know, what you've said is very valid, because I've been in Parliament. I don't know if it was the same when you were there, but now, if you bring any bill to establish an institution, it just goes.
Yeah, exactly.
First, second, third reading. And they say, let everybody just get it. But now it's even prompted the president to say, please stop passing bills for institutions. These things require funding. Let's develop the existing one. But as we say goodbye, I just want us to clarify something. This issue of holidays that's making the rounds.
Yes.
I know that Parliament in recent times has been going on quite a lot of holidays. But the annual recess is 6 months. It's between July and September.
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Yes.
It's normal.
It's normal.
Yes.
I think what is the watch, the National Assembly has this interesting thing. They will tell you our laws and the rules permit us to set our own timelines, and obviously. But I think the watchword is the constitutional mandate that they must sit, I think it's 180-something days.
A year.
Per year.
Yeah.
Now that's where where you need to watch.
Yes.
Exactly. So you may not be able to hold them. They have the.
So that's also another problem, because I know Premium Times had done a report on that and questioned their sitting, and then the argument was that we calculate our sitting based on signing, who signs in and who signs out, on issues of quorum and all that.
No, that's a quorum issue.
It is, regardless of it.
But the
a lawmaker could come to work today, sign and leave.
And
would he be recorded as having sat for the day?
Well, but that brings up another issue. The sitting in chamber is not the only role they play.
Absolutely.
They have committee sittings, they have oversight visits. So that's what I'm saying sometimes.
So that's the thing with the Constitution and the provisions.
And
understanding. It's not as clear.
Exactly. So we might need to push some of these things, make it clear, to hold them to account.
I think the National Assembly has a lot of work to do. One, in terms of its openness. Saraki started the openness week, and I think the House has been following suit, but the Senate hasn't really picked up on that.
Wait, the question, which ties back to the question you put earlier, when you say open,
how open?
How open?
What's
the definition of being open?
It's selectively open, I dare say that. Anyway, Larry, thank you so much for coming on the Gavel.
It's a pleasure.
Larry Lasisi is now our State House correspondent. He was a National Assembly correspondent from 2003 to 2019 when I took over. Let's go to constituency focus now. We'll speak with Senator Abdulaziz Yaradua, who represents Katsina Central Senatorial District.
I've done so many of the free medical care for my constituency, ranging from, surgery of hernia, eye surgery, and, giving of free drugs. And this has impacted well within my constituency. You know how drugs are today, very expensive for our people to get. So what we did was to ensure that, at least every month or every 2 months, we conduct a free medical outreach, for our people, having different, dealing with different types of diseases. So we are going, category by category to do the best we can to provide drugs for them, to provide surgery for them, eye surgery and so on, cataract, and the rest of them. So that we have been doing on a monthly basis. We always bring out some medical outreach to see how we can impact. Yeah, where you have hundreds of people, thousands of them coming out to benefit from it. I've also provided, portable drinking water, especially to the rural areas where they don't have, water is a challenge to them. So this we have been doing through constituency projects to, identify villages where they don't have water, and also to improve insecurity We provide solar lights, to ensure that a lot of the villages are lit up to discourage these bandits, from sneaking in at night to go and, kill them. So this we have been doing. We have also been providing a lot of medical equipment, especially for our Federal Medical Center. I've provided an equipment worth 300 million so that, that will improve, the healthcare system, because it's not everything that the federal government or the state government will provide. So wherever we see, gaps within the hospitals, we try to, put it as part of our constituency project. Right now, I'm also providing a mini grid in one of our general hospitals, to complement what the state governor is doing. So there are so many things we are doing, and primary health centers. I've built about 2 or 3 of them now. I'm also providing CBT centers so that some of the local governments, our students who usually do carry out these exams, JAM exams, are given the opportunity. Some years back they have to go to Kano, to conduct, to go and write JAM. But today we have, the centers are not enough. So I'm focusing on such areas to ensure that every local government within my senatorial zone has a CBT center. So at least that reduces, the chances of our students moving outside their own local government to go and write JAM. Aside from that, it helps improve their ICT skills, because after JAM, the CBT center is there. We're building them within secondary schools so that it becomes like a learning hub for computer training and so on.
And that's all the time we have on the Gavel. Thanks for watching. Send feedback to the Gavel at channelstv.com. I'm Terry Ikumi. Goodbye.